Hey beautiful people, welcome to Sickle and Shine. I'm marieckofi and welcome back to my channel. On this series I will be talking about myself. I will be talking about my life experience. I will be talking about growing up with sickle cell disease in childhood. And I will be keeping it real with some bad, some ugly, and of course some good stuff. You see, growing up with the condition, my life was quite complex. I was born in Cameroon in West Africa, where I lived with my siblings and my parents. Growing up, life was good, but quite challenging. Even more so for my parents, who had to stay with me a number of times in the hospital due to one being admitted from one complication of sickle cell to the other. With Africa having a very high mortality rate of children with sickle cell disease, you see, I feel fortunate to be alive. I feel lucky to have lived and survived in an environment where specialist care for sickle cell disease was non-existent. The management of it was basically a trial and error. I feel lucky. So what is sickle cell disease? Well, I will try and explain this as simple as possible, but I'm sure there are quite a few of you here who know what the sickle cell disease is. So for those who don't know, sickle cell disease is a rare disease. It is a genetic blood disorder. It is hereditary. And what we mean by this is you're born with it. So I will try and explain some simple genetics. So for normal people, you were born with 2 A genes. That means you do not carry the sickle cell gene and you can live a normal life. And you get people that are born with AS gene. That means they get one A gene from a parent and another S gene from the other parent. And these people carry a sickle cell trait. Some people with the trait go asymptomatic, and some people do carry symptoms, but very rarely. And you have, of course, the special people like us who carry one S gene from a parent and another S gene from the other parent. That means we have 2 S genes. And we have sickle cell disease. And please don't get me wrong. I am not making light of this situation whatsoever. This is my way of coping with it. And I think it has worked for me. I am special. There was a reason I was born with sickle cell disease. I can't change that. So I have to make everything positive out of it. And I don't want you to see yourself, those who suffer from the condition, to think that, you know, you are whatever people think you are. If you think you are special, of course you are special. Sickle cell predominantly affects people of the African and Caribbean origin. So because you're born with it, you can't catch it from what some people think. Of course, you'll be surprised by the things I've heard growing up. You can't get infected because you've been into contact with someone who has sickle cell. No, you can't. I'm telling you, you cannot. So why do we call it sickle cell? Well, we call it sickle cell because it affects mostly the red blood cells. And it does this by turning the shape of a normal red blood cell into a sickled shape, or what some people call a half moon shape. And because of this irregularity of the red blood cell, there is that difficulty in those red blood cells in going through the very tiny blood vessels. And you see, red blood cells carry oxygen, and because these cells cannot go through these very tiny blood vessels, you get something called a crisis. So you will hear most of the time people with sickle cell disease will say they are, you know, having a sickle cell crisis. And this crisis can be excruciatingly painful. Painful so much so that you might have to get admitted into hospital. And of course, sickle cell disease comes with all sorts of complications, from organ damage. You know, we will be talking about this in great detail in subsequent videos. I was diagnosed with sickle cell disease at the age of about 3 years old, and from what I can remember, or from what my parents told me, life was good. But I had quite a lot of challenges because I was always in hospital. I was always sick. This was more challenging for my parents, especially because they had to stay with me quite a number of times in hospital. And of course, I had other siblings that needed to be looked after. I went into primary school and I loved every bit of it. Yes, I did. I loved to play with my friends. I think that was the best bit I loved in primary school. I loved to walk to school with my friends. But you see, I had a problem. I was always tired. I was always feeling so tired and lethargic, and especially so after my lunch break, when I'd gone out and played so much with my friends. I would come back into class and I would barely be able to concentrate because I only had that much energy left in me. I remember always sleeping in class and my friends would always laugh at me. I mean, my teachers always get so frustrated because I was always behind with my work. And, my parents will always be called in because it's either I wasn't performing very well at school, or, I was just not taking it seriously, as they used to say. But you see, I had a condition that, I couldn't concentrate for very long. I was always tired, and the way sickle cell manifests, it makes you get very tired. And being a child, of course, I'm sure I must have been so dehydrated all the time, but I was never encouraged, very, very rarely was I encouraged to drink plenty of fluids. And I think this is something that is very important for parents and caregivers of children with sickle cell disease, especially in Africa. Encourage them to drink plenty of water, of fluid, because sickle cell and dehydration does not go well. You tend to have more crises when you get dehydrated due to the fact that red blood cells cannot flow easily in your blood vessels due to dehydration. I remember, my teachers always getting so frustrated because they will ask me something and maybe I was too tired to concentrate, and they would tell me, "Oh, Mariecla, there's always something wrong with you." No, there wasn't anything wrong with me. I just had a condition that needed a special attention. And of course, I had to miss a lot of my peers because they, I couldn't sit my exam, and because of that, they would move on to the next class. And sometimes I will have to sit my exams again, either because I'd missed, I wasn't, in school due to illness, or I didn't perform very well, which was very common. You see, where I grew up, the perception of sickle cell disease was quite varied. You had those who understood quite well what the condition is or was, and this was mostly the medical professionals who, had some sort of understanding of it, I should say. And you had people who had no clue whatsoever. And, these people have all these myths and beliefs of what sickle cell was. And you hear people telling you that, you're contagious and things like that. I remember an incident quite vividly when my mother had to stay a little bit longer at work. So she had asked one of her friends to pick us up from school. And, I used to get really excited when this happened because, of course, I will have extra time to play with my friends. So my mother's friend will pick up my brother and I up, who also suffer from sickle cell. And I will mention and talk about this in more detail later. So we will go to my mother's friend's house, and it will be an exciting moment because we will play and play. Oh, I used to love to play. So, she will feed us. And for some reason, she always used to put us in a different room to give us food. And I did not understand why this was. So one day her daughter would ask her that, "Mommy, why do you always put Mariecla and her brother in a different room?" And what she said was, "Oh, you see, Mariecla and her brother have that sickness and I don't want you guys to catch it." you know. I got really upset about it, you know, because this was the first time I'd actually heard somebody say it. And my brother noticed I was quite upset, and he held my hand so tight and said something to me that, Marie Claire, listen, you and me, I'm looking as if he's there, bless. You and me are very special. And I tell you, that is the thing that has resonated with me up till this day. Yes, I was born with sickle cell disease, but I am special. I knew that I was special. And this is what I need people to understand, especially those who have family members that suffer from sickle cell. It is very important to show them the love, to let them do the things that they want to do. I remember, you know, growing up, I was restricted from quite a number of things that I wanted to do. You know, we always used to be called sicklings and things like that, you know. Let people decide what they would want to do and face the challenges that they face, and then step back. Do not decide for them because they have a certain condition. I think one thing that kept me going was that my family was very supportive, and, you know, it made me feel very special. And I know quite a number of families in Africa, especially, that had to throw family members out or kick them out because they had children that suffer with sickle cell disease, because they had this notion that these children had come from a certain place, they were cursed, and they couldn't live with other family members. This must be quite sad, and it is our responsibility as a community to educate people and make them understand that this condition, you're born with it. You are not cursed. Because sickle cell affects predominantly the people of the African and Caribbean origin, we have to teach our people what this condition is all about. And if we don't understand it, then how can we expect other people to understand it? I will finish off by mentioning that May, the month of May, is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it is very crucial that everyone, not just those who suffer with sickle cell disease, look after the mental well-being. I mean, living with sickle cell disease can be quite challenging and get really lonely. So I want to take this moment to encourage all my sickle cell warriors all over the world to look after your mental state by accepting who you are. Moments of loneliness, please speak to your friends and your family especially. Try and keep well by eating healthy. Be active the best you can. You know, it can be quite challenging for some, you know, sometimes, but do what you can, you know, any form of physical activity, be it walking or just, you know, being a little bit active and keeping hydrated. And it's okay to say no. It is okay to say no. And very importantly, please take a break. Please join me next time where I will be talking about transitioning into secondary and high school. And I will also be talking about some of the challenges I faced during this time in my life. Oh yes, it was quite an interesting moment in my life, and I will be happy to share that with you. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and share, and also please comment and tell me what you think, what contents you would like me to share, and how you are coping with the condition and making the most of your life. Thank you.